Okay, now I'm back.
And it
We're
looks
gonna
like
have it.
we,
Go ahead.
I was just about to say it looks, I don't know, I'm not live on my screen yet, but
Oh, it's live now. I think it's live. Nope.
it
Yep.
is live on YouTube
It's
Welcome to
live
You
on
Can't
Twitch.
Say That.
and it is live on Twitch. All right.
Ooh, I love that picture that you got from me, Jeff.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 27 of the You Can't Say That podcast. It is myself, Jamie, who is pictured colorfully today, Joy, who is a, a, a chess piece. I was going to say a joke about the chess piece, but I don't know which one it is because I've never played.
It's
And
a
then
queen. It is a queen.
well,
Oh,
that makes some sense. And then we have Sam and we have Darnisha in the house. Welcome, everybody. It is 2 days post-election, and
Day number 3 of election day. Let's give it up for day number 3.
oh, you were
love
not
that
wrong.
news. We just off the jump.
Listen, I was doing so well. Election night, I didn't log on to social media at all because I was like, this is stressing me out. And then the next day, I was doing so good too. And then my friend called me at like 11 o'clock and she goes, girl, the race is so tight. And I said, I can check for a second. And I've been checking like once an hour, like ever since. So I've been stressing myself out unnecessarily.
Because of what you just said, I have not checked once. I have no idea who's winning, what the numbers are.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
The only thing I know is that there's been, well, I know a little tiny bit, but I only got that from another Wink staff person and my mom. But again, still very little. The only thing I found out on my own was that there's a Twitter beef between John Legend and 45 right now.
What?
So yeah, that's my contribution.
That's so random. Of all the people to be having a Twitter beef right now.
Yep, that my thoughts exactly.
Who is this again?
John Legend, if I heard correctly.
I'm gonna look that up.
If it's true, I'm going to lose my mind.
It's something about pettiness.
I don't know. People were mad petty after what happened with Chrissy Teigen over the past couple weeks.
Was that about she lost the baby
Mm-hmm.
and then what happened? I forget.
And then people were like, oh, well, now you guys see like you should be pro-life and stuff, and like just being really nasty. And I was like, she didn't choose to lose this child. So why are you guys trying to come at her like this?
Because we're wonderful, compassionate human beings.
I think that's the funniest joke I've ever heard you make.
Supposedly, they've been having beef since 2016-ish.
Wow, this is they're rivals at this point.
No kidding.
They're like, someone know of any football rivalries that don't include the Cowboys? Because I don't want to name the others. The Eagles and who? I feel like I heard them recently.
The Eagles and the Cowboys. That's literally.
Oh, so the Washington and the Eagles have beef with the Cowboys?
I guess so.
And everybody in that division does. Yeah.
Thank you, Dad, for teaching me football, so I can do that.
Same, but it was
I'm
my
not even
mom.
allowed to say Cowboys in the house. Just random fact. Say Cowgirls or the Texas team, something like that.
That's hilarious.
So, Dad, if you end up watching, I learned something from you.
Oh man, I could see that easily turning into a skit of some kind if taken to an extreme. Well, an even further extreme.
Love that.
Yeah.
So, politics.
I've been doing the opposite of Sam and Darnisha. I have been doing nothing but watching the news and constantly seeing the numbers of each state and how it's changing. And it's fascinating.
It's why every time you text me, I get a little bit more anxious because I'm like, if you text me something about the election, I will lose my mind. But it was all about Scientology the last time we texted, so it was fine.
Yeah, we can't talk about that or we'll be SPs.
Let's not talk out about the church.
Hey,
Netflix has added Scientology in the aftermath to their list of shows. That's why Darnisha and Joy are both watching it. Super exciting. I can't see what y'all are typing.
I'm still adjusting, by the way, over here. So
That's fine.
I saw the aggressive zoom ins on your camera and it made me laugh. So,
Yeah, man, he's getting ready for class.
Hey, so listen, here's my question to you all, right? Just to help me with class a little bit today. Um, how much are people in your universe talking about this, like obsessing over it?
0.
Yeah.
I mean, the people in my universe right now are literally just my mom. And maybe wink people. Um, so Jeff would turn that 0 into a 50. And then maybe Emma would take it to a 75 or
where are these numbers coming
60.
from?
Well, 2 people, one is 0%, one is 50%. I mean, 100% plus. So that's at least 50%.
Listen, I'm a film major. I don't do math. This is over my head immediately.
Oh my gosh.
So somewhere between 50 and 75%, I'd say, Sam.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Niche, how about you?
Well, I said like I was avoiding it, and then my friend called me and was like, "Girl, did you check the maps?" And then I
Oh
went back.
no.
This was like Tuesday. No, this was yesterday, Wednesday night. Um, and then my friend took me to the supermarket yesterday. And I was like, "Yeah, I logged out of social media, so I don't have to see people spew their political mess on my feed. Because as soon as I see that, I'm gonna lose my mind." So that's where my friends are at. Just a mix of distress over what's happening.
Mm.
That's why I'm glad I live alone, so I don't have to see them if I don't feel like being stressed out.
And what are people saying?
They're mad at Nevada because they're at like 75% done counting their votes, but it's been 75 for the past 2 days. So they're like, can y'all only count one vote a day or something?
Dude, come on, they got to gamble out there. You know what I mean? They got things to do.
That has to be it.
It's a life. They got.
It's actually just because of the amount of mail-in ballots that they have, and there's, I guess, a lot of discrepancies about, like some of them weren't folded correctly and stuff. So they gotta like manually input way too many for how many votes that they have or something. Maybe that's Atlanta. I don't remember exactly who, but somebody's like that.
Wow. It's so fascinating. Yeah, it's so fascinating. Jeff, in your reality, how much are people like, I don't know. People are.
I mean, besides just me and Michael, we haven't really done I haven't really talked to too many people outside of that. I mean, I talked to my dad a little bit today, but wasn't too much. He's feeling fine. He actually was at the polling place for quite a long time, helping out. Yeah, he liked it.
I'm also just glad that my vote got counted in time.
Right.
I think that was like one of the bigger things stressing me out about the election.
The whole election could come in Pennsylvania. The whole election could come down to one vote in Pennsylvania. That would
and had my vote not gone through, and that would have been all my fault.
Dude, I'm holding that out as a possibility. So
listen, they got my vote on Sunday, so if they didn't count it by now, then that's on them.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. Hey, let me ask you while we're just here getting kind of ready for startup. so I've logged into our channel with the System 19 login
Mhm.
and to Twitch TV. And if I want to log in under my own name, I should be able to do that, right?
If you have to get out of mod view at the top right, click your profile and then down to sign out.
All right, hang on, man. Let me rock on that.
Technical thing.
BTS behind the scenes.
Yeah, no kidding. Hello, Arnica or Arnica, and Billy, and K Chen too. Everybody watching live
Hey, everybody.
on
I've
Twitch.
been watching us just be out of our minds for the next 20-ish minutes, I guess.
It's three. Wait, it's 3:40. How long are we staying on?
3:46.
We'll only be on for about 20 more minutes or so, maybe a little
Okay.
longer.
Right.
Just because now that we're live streaming on both platforms, we won't do the pre-loop just as much, just because it's a little too much to do with everything. So, and also the on-demand on YouTube is available much quicker. And I need to find out why my computer is having such a hard time right now.
Dude, figure it out before we start.
No, that's not the issue.
Maybe it's just one too many things going on, man.
Hey, so I think for me, oh, hey, Arnica is on. Oh, Arnica, gosh, fill us in on what you're seeing from over there. Hey, can Arnica jump on really fast? Just
if
so
she wants to.
Yeah, can you, Arnica? Can you just jump on if someone sends you the Zoom link? We're just here, kind of getting some stuff together. Be really interesting to get a view of this from over in Germany. But let me. So Nisha, is your family talking about it?
I'm gonna be real. I haven't really talked to my family in a couple of days. I've just been really busy.
Yeah, it's funny, right? It's funny that people are sort of taking this in, but it seems like people are almost taking it in alone or something.
I mean, yeah, my mom just randomly texted me and was like, I haven't talked to you in a couple of days. I hope you're still alive. So.
Hey, can you send a private, Arnica, can you send a whisper to her with the...
I got it.
Oh, wait, she's in bed here. No, never mind. Listen, that's
she
all right.
said my American high school mates are spewing so much vitriol on Facebook. I had to avoid it since yesterday.
Yeah, Arnica, just stay in bed. It's better. We'll just take your words and we'll run with them. Her American
vitriol, that's such a good SAT word. I need to look that up.
That's coming from a non-native English speaker too, by the way. So let's just keep that out of.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, cruel and bitter criticism.
Yeah.
It also means sulfuric acid, just as another thing.
Again, because we're such compassionate, kind people. That's why your American high school mates are spewing vitriol. Good on you for that self-care.
I feel like there's a lot of not hostility. Like, I just feel like everyone's not up in arms, like actually up in arms. I just think people are like really on the edge of their seats, like waiting for what's going to happen over the next couple of days. Because I mean, like what Sam said, Pennsylvania might be the only deciding factor. It might be, it might be Nevada and Arizona. It might be that Trump picks up Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and then one of the two other states, and then he wins. So like literally anything can happen. I'm just happy that hopefully a lot of states are really learning how to adjust for the next time that we have a major election and millions of people are going on and voting by mail. Because Pennsylvania, kind of a disaster. Nevada, you don't really have as much of an excuse, kind of a disaster. Like, we need to have these votes in much quicker. And Allegheny County, Pittsburgh, won't be counting until tomorrow at 5 p.m.
Whoa, seriously?
Yeah, they announced it about an hour or two ago because there's a lawsuit, and then there's also a bunch of votes out there that they need to like manually go in, which is what I was talking about earlier. So
Which I thought
Allegheny,
it was funny that Trump tweeted, "They just keep finding these votes." No, they're mail-in votes, honey. They're mail-in votes, honey. They're supposed to do that.
well, it's funny because just the follower, like the people on TikTok that I've seen that have been on the right, have just been, we need to stop the votes. It's like, all right, if we stop the votes right now, Biden wins. If you go anytime past midnight, Biden wins. So you want to keep the votes going because then you have a better chance at winning the election. If more ballots are going out, statistically, if you think your side has the one up, you need to allow that process to go through.
Yeah.
But
Which Arnika said, "I don't quite understand why counting takes this long." Honestly, me neither, honey.
it,
I just live here.
it's because we don't have a standardized system in the United States where
Mhm.
we like the United States federal government has no involvement in the actual election process. They hand that down to the states. So each state can determine how long and by what process it is done by. So Pennsylvania said, before we didn't do any mail in ballots. And Pennsylvania, you have to request an absentee or a mail in ballot. You can't, like in Nevada, the thing about Nevada and why it hasn't been called for anybody is because the mail in ballots that are coming in aren't disproportionate Democratic like it is in Georgia and Pennsylvania, because the state of Nevada gave every single registered voter a mail in ballot. So that's why it's taking so much longer. In Georgia, they have to go from like one building is where they open it up, they check the signatures, they do all of that kind of stuff, and then they send it somewhere else that can then count the vote, and then they go to a third place that then double checks and whatever else, and then it's finalized. So it's taking a lot of steps. That's why, and
Yeah.
every state is different.
Yeah, and I think also, as far as I can ascertain, from going back years, we've had more mail-in ballots right now than ever, and nobody anticipated it. And it takes the states have to work with all the local elections officials and precincts and so on to legislate how that's done. And it just has never happened to this degree in the United States. And so and I think everybody is really careful about getting it wrong or not getting it wrong, and having ballots be disqualified because they made a single simple mistake that they're trying to be super careful. So because everybody knows that people, there are going to be a lot of lawsuits and the courts will be involved and so on. So yeah, it's just taken a long time. We've just never had this in the United States.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised that that for the third time they're going to go up in front of the Supreme Court. I think the first two were in front of the state Supreme Court, so that's different. But like Pennsylvania specifically has already gone to the Supreme Court twice, and they've not said anything. Nobody anticipated more mail-in ballots during a pandemic. No, they did. They just didn't have a system in place to take care of it, really. Like, and again, it might not necessarily be that, but some states have been like not counting the votes, but more or less counting the votes and processing the mail-in ballots weeks ago. Pennsylvania couldn't open up the first mail-in ballot until 7 a.m. on Tuesday, and they had well over 1 million come in. So, it's insane.
Well, and Arnica asked about it being the pandemic, like why we weren't thinking about it, and I don't have the answer to that at all, but my gut tells me that it is people were just have been tripping over themselves, and they've gotten no assistance from the federal government on this. No direction, no assistance, and there also were a lot of lawsuits, like kind of early on, a lot of attempts to obstruct mail-in ballots, because I think the idea appears to be that the more people mail in their ballots, the more it helps the Democrats and not the Republicans. In some states, and in other states, it helps the Republicans and not the Democrats. And so each side was kind of obstructing the process a little bit and kind of dragging it along in certain ways. And then, yeah, it just seems really, the whole process, it's exhausting it is exhausting for the entire world. Gosh.
Which Bassem said no election has been followed in Iraq like this one. No election in American history that I know has been followed this closely.
Yeah.
I definitely have an issue in it seems as though in Pennsylvania, in every place where they're counting the votes, there's supposed to be a representative from each party, and supposedly both parties are supposed to stand 20 feet away from the people, and it's just to the Democrats, if you're the reason why they can't step to a certain, if in Pennsylvania, if Wolf is saying that that's the rule and they have to stand 20 feet away, you're giving the Trump campaign fuel to use in a lawsuit against you. You have to let both of your representatives in every polling station, every voting area stand and walk around and make sure that the signatures are at least close and stuff like that. You can't just not allow them to do their job, really.
Yeah, the whole thing is really quite disturbing. But hopefully, we shall move forward in positive directions. It is fascinating that we are in this place in our history where we're trying to squash votes as opposed to encourage voting, and that's a really very much an odd
squash voting while we have the largest turnout in American history.
Yeah.
I mean, but voter suppression was in the way the entire time. Voter suppression has been off the charts this entire time.
Mm-hmm. Yo, did anybody see the voter suppression map, by the way?
No, I didn't know there was a map.
Yo.
App or map?
Map.
MAP, map, as in MapQuest. But no one uses that anymore. But watching the lines of people waiting in line for hours to vote, even before election day, and then the process of having to the whole process of registering to vote, especially for people who don't speak English natively, it's just so hard for some people. And then I've been on Twitter seeing stories of people literally going, oh, my dad doesn't speak English. He walked up to the voting, he speaks some English, he doesn't speak it well. He walked up to his polling place and they said, you're not even registered here, when he knows for a fact that he is. Which I'm like, how is this happening?
The lies.
Hey, but listen, there's always been voter suppression. There always will be. You win by getting people to vote for your candidate or obstructing their attempts to vote for another candidate. I mean, that's how you win, right? So it's not it's nothing new. It's been part of every election, everywhere, at every point in history, right? So it's
a bunch of BS, is what it is.
That I also don't want it to become normalized just because it's accepted as okay, just because it's become normal.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. No, I hear that. I think that's quite fair, actually.
Yeah, because people recognize it. When people, the obvious voter suppression is when someone goes up to your polling place, can't speak English very well, and someone goes, "You're not even registered here," and they can't articulate that they are and that they're wrong. What people have been normalizing and kind of glorifying are these hours-long lines of people waiting to vote, going, "Look at how dedicated they are." It shouldn't take that long to vote. And there should be more places to vote instead of one per million people, and that's why it's taking so long.
So Mark Batista on YouTube asked, what is considered voter suppression? This is an issue, though. Long lines and language barriers are not voter suppression. We shouldn't call it that. I think that what Darnisha said, it's not the fact that lines are long or particularly short in different areas. I think it's the lack of places in which people are able to vote.
No, but so long lines are an indication of that, though, right? So
that's what I mean.
When people poll, when party or election officials pull voting machines from certain precincts or voting locations, and they put them in other ones, knowing that those lines will be long and that maybe not everyone's going to get a chance to vote because they're not going to get in by the time things close up. That's voter suppression.
Which, if you're in line by the time the polls close that day, you are allowed to vote. But people see the long lines, and sometimes they can't get off of work and just wait in line and like miss out on that money. They
Yeah.
don't have people, like they can't, for whatever reason, just drop everything and stand in line all day to vote, and that deters people.
Yeah.
This might just be my entire ignorance, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels as though a form of voter suppression is also the war on drugs.
Yeah, for
Yes.
sure.
Wait,
No, a lot of
you're
that
going
is.
to elaborate on that for me because I don't see the connection.
The reason I think it's a connection is because as the population of African Americans grew, especially in urban areas, what ended up becoming the major cities that we have today, um, it made it harder. And after the 1960s, it made it much harder to make laws that were explicitly racist. So instead of saying you can't vote because you're black, they decided to put up literacy tests, and they started putting up small poll prices and stuff, which have now disappeared.
Or like
Um,
going back in time, property ownership. I mean, there any
Stuff
number
like
of
that. They
things.
always put stuff
Yeah.
up, and now since they can't do that, they are pretty much just making sure that the people within those communities that may or may not, perhaps, let's say, smoke weed or do hard drugs. Well, since we're gonna over
Mhm.
police that population, we're gonna find more people doing drugs. Therefore, we're gonna give them uh, we're gonna make them felons, and felons can't they
Or
can't vote.
we could decide that people with misdemeanor crime, records can't. But I mean, people can decide anything that they want, and I think the issue is that. But once again, keep in mind that this is political strategy. So anything that we imagine, anything that we see going on today, it has happened much more callously in the past. And so, there are many more eyes on these things today than there were in the past.
Some
I'd
of
like
these. Go
um
ahead, Jamie. No, go ahead.
um the thing that comes to mind is if one can't win without cheating, then are you really a winner?
Well, is it cheating though, right? I mean, that's the other
Voter
point.
suppression, I would say voter personally, creating laws that negatively affect or more harshly affect communities than others. Like one, bringing the drugs in, then two, when the people get a hold of them, then this one form you turn into a felony, and the other form you don't. And when those two forms are generally um, the users are very racially divided, and this is known, to me, that's voter suppression. There's also voter intimidation. There's um, closing of voting places so that people do have to be in those long lines. And I had one in my head, but niche, the one that you named is misinformation. Um, there's just a lot. And again, it says something if we feel like we have to create rules that would then allow us to win versus just letting things play out. And
Well,
it
Yeah.
speaks to fear as well,
well,
which is never a great thing to move on. But go ahead,
yeah.
Sam. You've been
I
patient.
mean, no. Listen, I hear you, and and listen. In an ideal world, in my mind, we would trot out all the candidates for whatever it is that they're claiming to represent, and people would have an opportunity to listen to them, and then everybody who wanted to vote would have an equal opportunity to go in and cast their ballot, right? And so the ideal situation, of course, never exists, right? And so now it's a slippery slope toward politicking. And politics is it's rough and rugged, and I don't know what it is about people wanting to be the leaders of other people that makes them be so willing to engage in nefarious activities in the way
But you
that they
also
do.
have to remember that not everyone who's a politician engages in these nefarious things and does these,
Yes.
like, suppressive acts.
Yeah. I I hear you. Yep, I hear you. So not it's not across the board, but there's something about the the game of politics, right? It's this um, it can do something to people, even people who are really nice people. They suddenly just get so I take somebody like Kamala Harris, right? And I think, okay, listen, she was a senator in California, so one of the most rough and tumble states in the nation, right? Most holy smokes, to get to be a senator in the state of California, how do you do that without pulling pulling up your shirt sleeves, saying, all right, and you don't do it by being really nice and sweet and ensuring that everything is fair and that the other side has the same opportunities your side has, and so on and so forth, right? You don't do that. You only get to that place by having sat in closed door, no window rooms, having some conversations that if people on the outside heard about or knew about, they would be like, nah, this is really, really uncool. I do not like that. And so,
Well, not everyone is exactly behind her in this election.
no, no, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that they are. I mean, she's just the candidate, but I'm just telling you, like, that's what comes to mind, as opposed to, somebody in a tiny little state somewhere that nobody really cares about. But it's just it's rough and rugged, and so and that doesn't make it right, but it just it's just important for me to say that anything we see happening now has happened many times more in more problematic ways in the past, in the just in the US, you know.
If you
You
want
want to
to
talk
talk
about?
about voter suppression, talk about Kamala Harris's DA record, which I just recently heard that her name was Kamala, and I've been saying it Kamala, and I don't know how I never heard her name spoken out loud, but I said it to my sister, and she's like, "Did you just say Kamala, like Pamela?"
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was my recent revelation.
Yeah. Yeah, it is funny. I have to remember that. I have to think about it all the time.
I will say that her DA record is not the best. She put a
Yeah,
lot
well,
of
here's
people
one.
away for.
Did she make arguments to allow quote ex felons to vote? You know what I mean? She may well have, because that's very much a Democrat thing. Because
Which
they
that is
really,
on the ballot in California now, whether or not people who have been felons and served their time should be allowed to vote again.
yeah, man, yeah, it's pretty simple, right? You serve your time, you're out, you're done. Like, let's go. You get to do whatever anybody else does. Like, unless you're on parole for a certain number of years, but this sort of
Yeah, I think
punishment in perpetuity is
yeah,
disturbing.
Yeah.
I think the way that it was phrased was like once you're done serving your parole, once you're done serving your time in prison, then you should be allowed to vote again.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you, man. See, I think going to Michael Solo, I think that I didn't hear much about her, and I think that I have this feeling that the Biden committee, like they know, man, they know so much about where they're going to move, what they need to do, how they need to get the vote out. I think there is such a feel in the black and brown communities about her regarding her past record that they
Hmm.
just said, listen, you just step off to the side. We're going to talk about Biden for a while, and
Yeah.
I don't know that, but it just was striking by how little I heard anything about her. I mean,
Well,
you often don't hear much about Vice. I heard nothing about Pence anyway, but Pence is a nobody. He's a
yeah, but the I did hear the thing about the 1,500 people she put in jail on marijuana charges, and that's the main thing that people in the black community have been like, okay, like female vice president, but let's slow down for a second. We're not all trusting of cops right now. And
yeah.
she's been putting people away on a lot of BS charges, especially since we're on a move as a country to start legalizing weed.
Yeah, but listen though, in all fairness to her, she didn't do that, right? She's part of a larger system,
Yeah, that's
and
true. But she, in the moment the moment she stepped up and said, I accept your nomination for vice president, was the moment people started connecting her face with that decision.
Yeah, well, not Californians, by the way, not people who are involved in this
No,
reform in
but like
California,
people
but
who
other
don't
people.
know her as
Yeah,
well. Like,
yeah, exactly. Well, but listen, but this is the nature of politics, right? This is why I would never had any interest in it, because you're going to have to make concessions, and I make concessions. There are all sorts of things that I concede in lots of ways that I anybody I could get called on very easily about things that I talk about and don't talk about in class. Some things I don't say in class because I have particular personal reasons not to talk about X, Y, or Z issue. And I could get called on that, but and same with her, right? Like maybe she needs a vote on this other thing over there. So then to this other side, the prosecutorial side of her, that she doesn't really want to criminalize marijuana in the way that it was, or doesn't think it should be. So therefore, but I need the vote on this other thing. So I'm going to exchange it for, you know what I mean? And that's just sad. We saw this with Obama, right? This guy that just, gets in the White House and suddenly, dude, what happened? So.
So Arnika, you're getting into a whole different separate conversation about for-profit prisons. That can be another podcast. That's a whole nother issue.
That goes on to the whole conversation about reform that we need to do in this country. But
yeah,
looking back at some other comments on YouTube,
give us YouTube comments.
How long are we staying on, by the way?
Probably until about 15 after, about 4 more minutes. Election
Maybe
day
we'll
should
just
be a
stay
federal
on.
holiday for sure. I say absolutely to that. And if not, I think that, like I, for instance, am lucky to work at an organization that doesn't, like if I had to leave in the middle of the day to go and vote, it's like, fine. Like as long as I'm not crazy busy, it's fine. But like I know a lot of other places people couldn't do that. And I think that the federal government can come in and be like, all right, we're not going to say that everybody has off this day, but if you're going to vote, well, and you take your piece off at the end of the ballot, it's like, all right, that's your doctor's note for not coming into work today.
Which there's been a move in some places to actually pay people to go vote. Like my mom got paid like 2 hours to go vote on election day. So,
another thing, Kamala Harris is a great LGBT proponent. She thrillingly married the first gay couple in the California Capitol once Prop 8 was struck down by the Supreme Court. I'd love to see her legalize weed. She made the promise now. She has made the promise. Biden didn't say anything really about it. But I'm thinking as soon as about a quarter to a half of the states have legalized recreational, the federal government's then going to come in and be like, all right, we got to do something about it. And I would definitely, what's up, Frost? And I would definitely
Frost is in the house.
Where?
He's on Twitch.
Oh, on Twitch. Okay.
And then the other thing, she's a great proponent for LGBT issues. That's good. I have an issue when people say that they didn't vote for Kamala because they didn't like her and
Kamala,
whatever, Harris, and
oh no, he said whatever.
Dude, man.
It's just a name. People say Jeffrey.
She might be your vice president.
How do people say Jeffrey wrong?
You'd be very surprised.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Only three states
Listen.
don't have legal marijuana in some way, shape, or form. I think it was like Montana and North Dakota legalized, and I was shocked. Either like Montana or Wyoming or one of those flyover states. They're like, holy cow! Mississippi has a medical program now. It's nuts. Mississippi, people.
Wait, what'd you just say, Jeff? I was reading comments.
Mississippi has a medical marijuana program now.
Huh?
Mississippi. If you're from the South, it's a 3-syllable word.
And Mississippi.
Mississippi had the only marijuana farm in the United States owned by the feds going back, when I was in my younger years, in the early 90s, I put in a grant to do some research on marijuana, on consumption habits, actually, which would have required me then to interview people who are smoking and while they're smoking. And one of the things that I discovered at that point in time was that Mississippi had the only viable marijuana farm in the United States. It's just that they grew all this amazing marijuana, but they ended up throwing it out. They just kept growing it, cycle after cycle, and then they would have to throw it out because no one could do any research, so no one could use any of it for anything.
Well, that's just
imagine that.
wasteful.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
PA,
yeah.
PA still has prohibition like alcohol laws. No kidding. I went to California, what was this, 3 years ago for my friend's 21st birthday. And I was talking to her mom about it. And she was just like, if you would live here for like 6 months, you can go and get your medical card for absolutely no reason. And I was like, yeah. And in Pennsylvania, I couldn't go into a liquor store, even if I'm over the age of 21, if I don't have my identification with me.
I mean,
Yeah, but listen, most of that's a college town stuff. Then, my friend.
No. That's statewide. Like you are not allowed to go into liquor stores if you are not over 21 or if you don't have your identification.
Oh, I see. All right. Well,
that's never really been enforced when I would go with my mom, but that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
And the fact that up until recently, like in the past 3 years, Pennsylvania finally stopped enforcing you have to go to beer distributors exclusively for beer and wine. They're starting to open it up to gas stations. In Ohio, the only good thing about Ohio, two things. One, they have Cedar Point. Second, supposedly their liquor and alcohol is all in gas stations. Never been.
The thing about Ohio is you can get beer at a 7-Eleven.
Hey, listen, man. Hey, real fast, I just want to see how I want to just go back to Arnica if you're still there. Yeah, it's going back to your last comment. It is deeply disturbing. I think Mr. Rashidi Bassam, I think you've got to be in the same boat that this is just super tiring. But I want to go back to your comment earlier about the potential for violence. We've talked about that, but I maybe hit it again next week. Something it's a little bit. It's very much on my mind here. Yeah.
Forgot the Cleveland Browns, says Michael.
Yeah.
Are they so good?
Yeah. So
it would be good if they were named Browns.
So Arnica, going back, I think that the problem is, lots of people are talking about that right now, and I don't want to talk about it. Like, for example, in today's class, we've talked about it in the past because it's something that's on lots of people's minds, and it's in a way that's actually for that. So we're sitting tight at this point in time. We've not seen any major unrest. We've seen, there are people in the streets. Apparently, I'm not watching the news. I'm trying to stay separated from that, but it still seems to be we're on the edge. Yeah,
we are.
Real quick, back to the name thing though. As a Black woman with a difficult name, please try and say her name correctly next time, Jeff.
Okay.
Listen, man. Darnisha with I before E, which is I's usually go before E, but people who spell Darnisha usually spell it Neisha. Am I right on that?
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Jeff,
I've had to
literally have spelt my name wrong for the past 3 years.
Not me.
But we have niece. We have the word niece.
Niche.
I know, but we have the word niece too, and that's IE as well.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right. I know, but most people do it DARNESHA or NEISHA. It seems to me, but I might be wrong on that. In any case,
I concur with niche, by the way, because Jeff, outside of here, I go by Jamila, and I cannot tell you, it's like nails on a chalkboard when people say something else that I'm not even going to say.
How did I say it?
Hers or mine?
Hers.
Kamala.
And it is?
Oh, no, you said Kamala, and it is Kamala.
Kamala. Got it.
Kamala. Think of like an accent on the A, and hopefully I'm saying it right. Yeah.
Yeah. Regardless of whatever happens, everybody stay safe out there. Don't be stupid.
Exactly.
But
Drink
stupid
water.
don't stupid don't know it's stupid. That's the problem.
Hey, listen, tell me about it. This is the story of my life. You know what I mean? This is why I can't believe I'm a teacher, because I put my stupid self out there all the time. Hey, I just pinged Frost about we want to try to get some reports from this field. So clearly, it would be good to get a report from China. Yeah,
That'd be cool. That would be really cool.
Is what Michael said.
Yeah.
But it is 15 before class, so we should start wrapping up. We should do final thoughts.
Yeah.
Also, wear your masks.
We can just keep things on for a while and just chat and see what's up. Right? We don't have to stop it. Do we? Have
No,
to
we
stop?
do.
Yeah,
What's that?
we gotta switch
We do
over.
because of YouTube.
Oh,
Twitch, I
right,
could
okay.
Twitch, I could stop in the middle, but I can't with YouTube.
Okay, listen, man. We're gonna just stop really fast, and we'll be right back on in a hot second. Or how long is it gonna take us to get back on?
I mean, 5 minutes.
Or we'll be back on in 5 minutes, right?
Sounds about right.
Hey, Frost. Real quick though, Frost. I'm gonna try to ping you on. I think you sent me your WeChat number, so you can send me an email right now, and I'll put you in WeChat.